Good Erev Shavuos, everybody. On Shavuos, there's a minhag that we read the book of Ruth, Megillas Rus. And it begins by saying, Vayehi bimei shafoit hashoftim. And it was during the years in which the judges judged, Vayehi ra'av ba'aretz. And there was a famine in the land. Vayelech ish mi beis Lechem Yehuda. And a man from Beis Lechem, Bethlehem in Judea, went, Logur b'stei Moav, to dwell in the fields of Moab, who the Ishtay u'shnei vanav, he, his wife, and his two sons. That's the first verse. The second verse, the Shem Ha'ish, the name of this man is Elimelech. The Shem Ishtay, and the name of his wife is Naomi. And the name of his two sons, Machlain v'Chilyaim. Few questions. What does it mean when the judges judged? Isn't that redundant? It should just say, and it was during the time of the judges. Now, the judges refer to the great tzaddikim, the righteous individuals, some of whom were worthy of prophecy. And these judges, these righteous people, that's why they were put in a position of judging Klal Yisrael, because these were the greatest Torah scholars and the great righteous people whose wisdom and their divine connection was a guiding light for Klal Yisrael. They were the judges. So what does it mean when the judges judged? That says it's nonsensical. Second question, it says, and during the time when the judges judged, and there was a famine in the land. What does one thing have to do with the other? If it's just telling us that these two things coincided, it should have said, and there was a famine in the land when the judges judged. There was a famine at this point in time. The fact that the verse seems to mention this as two separate factors, the time when the judges judged and there was a famine. What does one have to do with the other? A third question. In the first verse, it says that a man from Bethlehem, Judea, he left. He left to dwell in the fields of Moab. Doesn't tell us who he is. He went with his wife and his two sons. Doesn't mention their name. And then the very next verse, it identifies them. Elimelech and his wife Naomi and their sons. Why didn't it tell us their names in the first verse? Should have said during the time when the judges judged, and there was a famine in the land, and Elimelech from Beis Lechem, Bethlehem, and his wife Naomi and their son, they left. Why doesn't it mention that? And perhaps the most perplexing question is, who was Elimelech? Elimelech was a great tzaddik. Naomi, she was renowned. She was given the name Naomi, which means sweetness. Her deeds were so sweet, her kindness, her wisdom. Elimelech was one of the judges. Why would Elimelech leave? Some say, well, because there was a famine. He was very wealthy. He didn't want too many people are going to come knocking at his door. Elimelech would leave because he doesn't want to share his wealth? That is inconceivable. This great holy tzaddik. Why did he leave? The Chassam Sofer has a remarkable commentary. The Medrash says, Oy lador sheshaftu shoftehem. Woe to that generation that judges its judges. This is the meaning when it says, and it was during the time, not when the judges judged, it was during the time when the judges were judged by Klal Yisrael. What does that mean? Some Sofer says there was a period of great prosperity and there was great wealth, and Klal Yisrael had much leisure time. And Hashem provided this great gift to enable people to have time and a comfort and a security and a peace of mind so that they could engage in Torah study and they could delight in the wisdom of Hashem's magnificent gift of his Torah that he presented to us. And many did, but there were many who did not. And on the contrary, they used their leisure time not to study Torah, to attend classes, to gain and grow in their spirituality, but they began to use their leisure time to follow their pleasures. And they began to organize various groups, and they would sit and they would gossip and they would eat and they would have their clubs and who knows what they would do. They would engage in recreation far beyond the needs of an ordinary human being. And they would sit and they would think, look how successful I am, and we're all successful, we're all wealthy. And who do these rabbis, who do these judges, who are these righteous Torah scholars sitting in judgment of us? Who are they? We're very prominent, we're powerful. We control the purse strings. We don't have to sit back and listen to their instruction. We can have them replaced. And they began to sit in judgment of the judges. That's what took place. Woe to that generation, the Medrash says, in which the judges are being judged. What did Hashem do? Hashem, in his loving kindness, tried to awaken our spirits, and he brought a famine. A famine? Where's our food? We don't have. What's going on? All of a sudden, people no longer have the leisure, the time. No longer could they sit and gossip and pursue their pleasures, but rather now they recognize how much they need each other, how much they need the community, the society, how much they need the kindness and the guidance of our great Torah sages and the righteous. That's why God brought the famine. But despite the famine, there were many who did not use this wake-up call, and they remained critical of the judges. You're so righteous, you're so holy. How come God brings this famine upon us if you're so righteous and holy? Why don't you protect us? And Elimelech, because he was such a righteous judge, and because he heard how people were referring to him, you know how they referred to him? Ish mi beis Lechem Yehuda. Who does he think he is, this Elimelech? He's a man from Bethlehem in Judea. He's no different than we are, holier than thou. That's why in the first verse, his name is not mentioned, nor his great righteous wife Naomi, nor his sons who were righteous too, because those who judged the judges, those who gossiped and were critical of the righteous and the Torah scholars, they wouldn't even give them the prominence and the significance of bearing their own names as a title. He's just a man from Bethlehem. He puts on his pants the same way we do. What's so special about him? What's so special about her? His name isn't mentioned. And because of that, he didn't want Klal Yisrael to be subject to heavenly criticism of degrading God's righteous, holy people. He said, if I rebuke them, it will only add fuel to their fire. Better I should leave, and I shouldn't be here and be the subject of their criticism. And this way they will not be found guilty in the eyes of God on my behalf. That's why Elimelech and his wife left. And in the next verse, it tells us who was this man who took leave? Elimelech and Naomi, his wife. Here it tells us how righteous they were, such great tzaddikim. This is what was taking place. And this was that generation. The Torah, the book of Ruth, reveals this to us because, as everything in our holy scriptures, it's there for us to learn and not to repeat the mistakes. If we are indeed blessed, that we have prosperity, affluence, we're comfortable. The comfort that we have today would make us from the wealthiest in previous civilizations and centuries. We have so much time. And the book of Ruth is telling us, what should we do with our time? Not to pursue this and pursue that, but to see that our synagogue remains healthy, financially strong and stable, and there should be education for our children, education for adults, and we should take advantage of this great opportunity. I can make a living. Well, what do I do with the other 4 hours a day that I have? Should I just sit back and just waste my time? Person needs leisure time. They need recreation. But we also need to see that our soul connects with our Creator. And therefore, we should utilize this opportunity. That's what the Megillah of Rus is teaching us. You know who utilized every moment of her life, realizing it's a precious opportunity to connect with God? Rus. She did. She gave up her life as a princess to live as a pauper, but to be a member of the Jewish people. This is Rus. She was the antithesis of this generation of those who were consumed with the pursuit of their pleasures and at the expense of criticizing and denouncing the Torah scholars and the righteous. She was the antithesis. We learn from Ruth, and we learn from this very beginning of the book of Ruth, if we are blessed, to use our blessings appropriately. Is it any wonder that the book of Ruth is read on Shavuos, in which we take these days? What is Shavuos about? There's no special food that we eat. There's no special items that we utilize for a mitzvah. There's no shofar. There's no lulav. There's no esrog. There's no sukkah. There's no matzah. What is it? It's recognizing our greatest gift, the ability to connect with our Creator, study of Torah. Let's take advantage, as I know we all will, and attend the shiurim, the classes, whatever they might be, if we can attend every class or just 1 or 2 classes, to engage and to connect and to appreciate Hashem's gift. Stay healthy and stay Jewish and stay safe. Have a wonderful Yom Tov and a good Shabbos.